Welcome back to Brojo Online. Today we're going to talk about a specific belief system that many husbands have, and it goes something like this. Happy wife, happy life. Now, a lot of people, when they come to the conclusions we've already talked about today, is they'll do a pendulum swing to the other end of the spectrum and go treat her mean, keep her keen, red pill ideology, which is just the opposite extreme and it's equally as crazy. I want you to start thinking about some nuanced third position that's neither of these extremes. All right, the confident man position. So when it comes to the solutions to somebody who's stuck in a happy wife, happy life situation, one thing you can think about is what's different now to when you're in the dating phase, when she was first attracted to you. Now, some guys are just nice guys all the time, and so they won't get any good information out of this. But a lot of guys that I work with who are in tough relationships, they were a different person at the beginning. And that person, had they sustained that, or had it been real, they wouldn't be in the shit that they're in now. It's changing into something else that killed the relationship. So take a moment to think, what was she originally attracted to you for? Who were you at the beginning? Even if you were faking it, it'll give you a sense of some of the traits, at least that worked for her. And then, how did you change? What got less? What got more? What stopped? What started? Have a look at those differences. Because whether you did these things or not, the main differences I notice at the start of a relationship versus, so the first 3 to 6 months versus the next 10 years are the following. Taking the lead and risking rejection. So in the starting phase, a guy is far more likely to make suggestions, come up with ideas, organize events, decide what's happening for the two of you, and risk her disagreeing, saying no, so on and so forth. That same guy 10 years later, he's always asking the wife, what should we do today? What are your plans? He's become the follower instead of being the leader, and that position has changed. Another one is you did things for yourself without asking permission. It's quite natural at the start of the dating phase that you already had your own life going, and they're slowly sort of integrating with that life. So you had your martial arts class, and you had your Sunday golf with your mates, and you had, your Saturday night dinner with the family, and you kept up those things, and the dating had to work around that. And then as, she got more embedded in your life, you started swapping out those things for her preferences. Which, if you notice carefully, especially with a healthy woman, she didn't actually ask you to do it. She just didn't say no when you did do it. She might have even pushed back, but you insisted on self-sacrifice. You insisted on being that plow horse. But that's always a big thing I see a difference is the guy's hobbies and friends and everything start to fade off as he starts trading them out, the deeper the relationship goes. But she was actually attracted to him at the start when he had all this interesting shit going on in his life. She had to work around it. She didn't just get him non-stop, totally available all the time. Challenging her on bad behavior. The boundary setting at the beginning is usually 10 times the boundary setting later on. Now, of course, many guys don't do any boundary setting. They just kind of put up with things early on. But some guys, they do sort of step up at the start. I was talking to a guy the other day who's basically lost his wife at this point. But in that start of the relationship, she did something. He said, hey, if you keep behaving like that, you'll lose me. And she said, oh, okay, I won't do it again. And now she treats him like shit all the time and he doesn't make a sound. And that kind of thing is, we think, oh, happy wife, happy life means never push back, never upset her, never make her feel guilty about what she's done. My preferences don't matter. I'm being too sensitive, so on and so forth. And yet, actually, at the start, that was one of the reasons she was attracted to you. Like, oh, got me a real man. It might sound a bit like daddy issues, but some women like being told off, not in some sort of kink way, but like a guy standing up to her gives her faith that maybe the guy's got some sternum, that the guy's got a spine, that maybe he's protective, that maybe he can be trusted. Maybe if he says he likes something, he means it, because if he doesn't like something, he'll say that. This includes disagreeing with her, disagreeing when you think she's wrong. Again, overgeneralizing. Guys are pretty logical, practical. Women are sort of more emotional and creative. Very much generalizing here. But what it means is a lot of time a woman will do something a certain way where a guy's just like, that's mental. I don't know why you're doing that. That makes no sense. It's pointless. Or, quite often, and this will go both ways with partners, you'll see someone doing a pattern and you know it leads to no good. They've done this 1,000 times before. They're just going to do it again and it's going to end in tears yet again. And you're just watching them do this like, oh, don't do it this way. Like, we've been through this. Now, the start of the relationship, a guy's far more likely to speak up and disagree on the way she does things, on her preferences. Oh my God, you like that band? They're terrible. All these kinds of things. often quite a playful manner. He's especially at that stage where you're willing to lose them or you're not so caring if they like you or not. And then later on, it's just like every idea she has is awesome. Everything she wants makes sense. Let her walk off the edge of a cliff if she thinks that's a good idea. Maybe you prioritized your well-being before helping others. Yeah, generally at the dating phase, somebody's already coming from like a singledom life. They're kind of self-centered, not selfish, but they certainly got their shit together. They're working on their own thing. And so before you'd offer someone else a hand or like consider what somebody else needs, you'd make sure you've got all your things sorted first. You wouldn't rush home from work early because the girl you've been dating for 3 days is feeling a bit sad, right? Like you'd be like, well, you're gonna have to wait for me. I'm at work. And so a lot of those kind of early boundaries start to fall apart as the relationship goes on. The guy just starts deprioritizing his well-being and prioritizing hers. Again, it looks very noble. I had a big relapse when my daughter was born and my wife went through lots of serious health issues. They both did actually. And so everything that was good for me to do for myself just got benched completely. Now, there was, to a degree, some sense in that. Like they were both doing very badly. And so I was like, this lines up with my values to do this. But as the months and then years went on, it no longer made that much sense to keep sacrificing myself. And yet I kept doing it. When I first met my wife, it was like, well, you can fit around what I got on. Like I got a very busy life. If I'm dancing on Wednesday, then either come dancing or wait for me to see you on Thursday. Like, I've got my shit together. I'm not moving anything in particular. And she actually preferred that to me just like shelving everything about my life so that she gets me 24/7. Maybe you assumed that she could solve her own problems. You realize, she's a fully grown adult, that she's lived her whole life without you up to this point and somehow survived. And that maybe you coming in isn't some necessary insertion of a problem solver, that maybe she can do it. So, in the dating phase, she's like, oh my God, my best friend's being such a bitch. You're like, yeah, yeah, sucks to be you. You just let her figure it out for herself. 10 years later, you're like, well, here's what you need to do. You got to tell her this and tell her that and blah, blah, blah. And you're trying to solve all her problems for her. You let her have feelings at the start. You let her be mad or sad or whatever the fuck she was. And you didn't take it personally. Maybe not as much anyway. If she's mad at you, you'd be like, all right, I guess I'll see you the next day then. When you're married, she's mad at you, like, oh, I got to live with this. I better fix it. Right? So allowing her to just have emotions, to have tension with you. Her being mad at you might look bad right now, but later on, it's going to be part of her sexual attraction for you. And it doesn't mean you just treat her like shit. If she's mad at you because you've done something wrong by your own standards, obviously you fix it. But if she's mad at you for just being you, then you just let her be mad. Now, at the start, you probably didn't even know she was mad half the time, but she was. In the first few months of dating, there've been heaps of things you did where she's like, oh, fucking God. But, it's in the honeymoon phase and she wasn't totally honest with you yet. So you unwittingly perhaps let her have emotions. And now that you're aware of all her feelings all the time, you don't let them happen. Most importantly, and again, some of you would have never done this, but willing to risk losing her to maintain your integrity. A lot of guys in the dating phase, especially if they're like doing all right with women in general, they're willing to lose this one or that one if it means compromising themselves. Well, there'll be another one later. Now, some guys who are desperate with women never maintain their integrity, but a big change I see, especially with confident guys who end up being like squeaky little mice by the end of their relationship, is at the start they're like, okay, I have a certain set of principles I live by. If you're not on board with that, there's the door. And then later in the relationship, they're like, oh, that principle makes her mad. Well, scratch that one off. That's gone. I don't have any anymore. So, in other words, at the beginning, you were probably easy to admire and respect. You were attractive. And now all of these things have come to an end because you've been trying to keep her happy. So you cannot make the goal her approval. So even if you're looking to change this stuff, you're like, okay, you're right, happy wife, happy life isn't working. I've got to become more confident, authentic, bold, self-sufficient, and then she'll like me. It's just another manipulation. You have to let go of the goal of making her happy. Like really let it go. And understand, not only is it not your job for her to enjoy her life, she doesn't need to be happy with you all the time for your relationship to be good. In fact, the opposite is true. She needs a range of emotions that she processes through herself to develop a rich, meaningful connection with you. If you're going to make these changes, you have to do them for your confidence and your quality of life, not to try and make the relationship work. If this relationship is right for you, then she will respond positively to you making these changes. If she responds negatively to you making these changes, then either the relationship's too damaged to fix or you're just not right for each other. I'm going to give you some principles to follow that are different to happy wife, happy life. And then, if you're watching this somewhere where you can comment, chuck your ideas down below. I want to hear from anyone who's in a strong, healthy relationship where they're definitely respected by their partner. What are some of the principles they follow when they're not following happy wife, happy life? So here's some. Never say yes if you feel unsure or no. A lot of nice guys just are agreeable. They're sort of like easygoing. They pretend to themselves that they're cool with everything. Unless you're excited about something, start with no. It doesn't mean you have to always get your way. You don't have to have everything my way or the highway. It's not like the dictator type that they recommend in Red Pill. Just more like you're not going to pretend to be easygoing. Another principle, she's allowed to be mad at you for as long as she wants. Her anger is her situation, not yours. If you're okay with what you did and she's angry about it, don't change. You're okay with it. Now, if you're not okay with it, do change, but not to stop her from being angry. Change it because you're upset with your behavior, right? The only changes you should make to your behavior are when they breach your principles. Do not change who you are to make her happy. It looks like it works in the short term. It's devastatingly unhealthy in the long term. She might look like she wants you to do this, but I promise you she actually doesn't. You also got to allow her to react rather than like anticipating and deflecting. Nice guys die 1,000 deaths in their mind that wouldn't actually happen in real life. They think, oh, this will make her mad and this will upset her and she'll hate me if I do this. And they don't even test it to see what happens. And they don't get to see the evidence actually. She appreciates you being assertive and she admires you when you go and take care of yourself, even though she wants more help with the housework and so on. At the very least, make sure you get a reaction before you respond to it. Okay, don't respond to imagined reactions with preventative behavior. Calmly push back on bad behavior from her. Open up your mind to the idea that you're not the only one in the relationship who can do things wrong. You're not the only one who can treat someone badly. That there's a very good chance that you've allowed her to do things that make you resent her. This doesn't make her a bad person. It makes her uninformed. If you're upset with her behavior and you didn't tell her, you cannot hold her to account for that behavior. You cannot assume that she should just know that that's bad. You can't start calling her a narcissist or abusive. You haven't even given her a chance. So don't tolerate disrespect, but don't ask for respect either. If you had to ask for respect, it's very hard to respect you. Just demand it. If somebody behaves badly, you do not tolerate that behavior. Maybe it means you end the conversation or leave the room or withdraw some sort of privilege. Maybe it means that you make an uncomfortable conversation happen because you're not going to allow this to go unsaid. Whatever it is, she should always feel like she's hit an electric fence every time that she disrespects you, right? There should be a buzz like, "Ooh, that's not nice." Doesn't have to be a punishment, just not false agreement or silent treatment or, you know, suffering behind a smile. Like, make sure it's known that you didn't like something. If she calls you too sensitive, say, well, so I'm too sensitive then, learn to work around it. Be honest at all times. This will be the tip of the spearhead. If you can just be honest at all times, it destroys the happy wife, happy life thing. Because to keep a woman happy permanently, you have to lie to her. Nobody's happy with the truth all the time. You give the truth all the time, eventually you're going to cause a range of emotions. So if you just fixate on being honest all the time, the rest will follow. Remember, you don't have to win every debate or battle. Being honest doesn't mean getting your way. You might even agree to do things you don't like. That's actually okay, so long as it's very much made aware that you don't like it. That you have overt contracts. You say, all right, I'll go to your mother's for 3 hours, but then we get to watch sports when I get home. That's fair, right? Like, make sure that you're being respected. Make sure that, like, okay, I will make some sacrifices for you for this relationship, but there must be compensation so that no resentment builds. That's a perfectly reasonable way to negotiate. What ideas do you have? When you hear all of this, think of what the things you've done and what you could do differently. When you think of healthy relationships that don't follow the happy wife, happy life mentality, what do they do differently? Put your ideas below in the comments. Let's help each other out here with as many ideas as possible. And I want to hear from the woman. Those of you who are able to overlook that, like, pleasure you get from being, constantly bowed down to. The ones who actually want a real man and what it is that makes you respect a man. Put that down in the comments. I really want to hear from women about like the things that they know they have a bad initial reaction to, like they react with anger or disappointment, but secretly deep down they know it's the right thing. Like they're glad it happened in the long run. They know that the man should behave that way. What kind of things, come to mind when I say that? Share your thoughts below. Thank you so much for listening. This is an ongoing piece of work for me. I'm going to keep developing my knowledge on this, and we'll see where it goes. Cheers.